Hello everyone, Bob here, and welcome to the second part of my video series where I rank the top 10 horror films from each decade. In this episode, we are going to look at the top 10 horror films from the 2000s. In my opinion, it was a little bit of a weak decade, but there were still some gems to be found, so let's see what my favorites are, and then let me know if you disagree or agree with me in the comments below. There are several of these which I'm sure would be considered controversial picks. First of which is coming in at number 10 is House of Wax from 2005. It's a remake. It stars Paris Hilton, Alicia Cuthbert, Jared Padalecki. I had fun watching this, and yes, I'm a fan of the Vincent Price version and even the old version from the 1930s. They're good films, and this felt like it carried on in the spirit great. The effects were good. The chase was good. I saw this one in the theater. I liked it. It's definitely one of my 10 favorite films to watch, horror films to watch from the 2000s. Next up is another one that might be considered a controversial pick, and that is Broken Lizard's Club Dread. It is a horror comedy. I think it's funny. A lot of people don't like it, but I thought it was a good slasher with very comedic elements. I had fun watching it, and that's why it made this list. The original Saw is, while I didn't mind some of the others in the franchise, the original one's really the only one that I would say that I really liked. It was a good film, good tension building moments. The twist at the end was unexpected, and it was a well-made horror film from the early 2000s. The Strangers, starring Scott Speedman and Liv Tyler, is about this couple who, after she rejects Scott Speedman's proposal, they go back to his old country home, and he's called a friend to come and get him, and he leaves for a little bit, and while he leaves, several things happen, and she realizes she's not in the home by herself, and this movie creeped me out at the time I watched it. The atmosphere is excellent. The scares are good, and it's just a solid horror movie that I had to put on this list. George Romero's return to zombie cinema for the first time in 20 years, Land of the Dead. This time he got some big name stars, Dennis Hopper, Simon Baker, John Leguizamo, among many others. This film, it's a solid zombie movie. It's a fun zombie movie. The unrated cut has great effects. If you're a fan of the other Romero films, this one needs to be checked out. Friday the 13th remake. I know there's a lot of people that don't like this, but as I said in my Friday the 13th film ranking and in my review of the film itself, this one feels so much like the early Friday the 13th films, which I love. I had to include it in this list. It's a great horror film, and is a standout for me from the decade. Red Eye is a thriller directed by Wes Craven. It stars Cillian Murphy and Rachel McAdams. It is where she keeps running into the same person, and eventually are even seated together on the same Red Eye flight. And as she talks to him, she realizes that it was all planned. And it's while not strictly a horror film, it is a thriller, and it is a solid thriller from Wes Craven, who I almost put Scream 3 on this list, but it instead made the honorable mentions. 1408 is a tale by Stephen King. It is about a haunted hotel room on it's on the 13th floor, but since the people that have the hotel are superstitious, there is no 13th floor. It just goes from 12 to 14, and the room is haunted. And depending on which ending of this film you watch, there's a wide range of how you feel about it. I've seen both endings. I've seen both endings edited in. It's a solid haunted house picture, solid film, solid ghost story. John Cusack does a great job, great performance, and the fact that the whole movie takes place in a hotel room and keeps you interested tells you how good this film is. Bubba Hotep is a movie about a ancient Egyptian mummy that is killing people at residents at a nursing home. And Bruce Campbell is there. He thinks he's Elvis. Ozzie Davis is there. He thinks he's JFK. Are they actually who they say they are? The movie never confirms or denies it. It leaves it up to the audience to decide. But this movie is a fun movie to watch. Dad and I love watching this movie together, and we watch it fairly often together. It's one of those movies that we can quote a lot of. And if you get the chance to watch it, I highly recommend it. Rounding out the top spot, Trick or Treat. This is a film that, like Halloween, I make a point of watching every October. The feel of this film nails how Halloween and October in general feel, especially in the Midwest. It is a kind of an anthology, but all the stories are related together. They take place in the same small town on the same night. And whether you're talking about the school bus story or the school bus driver story, or Sam, or the vampire story, it's just a fun movie to watch. And it's sort of in the style of Creepshow, but all of the stories are related and take place in the same town on the same night. Well, that rounds out my list of top 10 favorite horror films from the 2000s. Next week, I'll take a look at my top 10 favorite horror films from the 1990s. That one's a lot harder to do because there are a lot of horror films I like from that decade. So, not as hard as the 80s are going to be, but the 90s was a good decade for horror. So, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my choices. And that's fine, whether you disagree with them. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. That's what makes the world go round. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. Please consider subscribing to this channel. I try to have new content daily. Due to sometimes there's internet restrictions in my area because the internet's hit or miss. But I try to have new content daily. Follow me on Facebook or Twitter. Best place to find an update on how the next video is coming. Thanks for watching. For now, this is Bob, signing off.